Starting in Nigeria, where the continuous call for an end to the Special Anti-Robbery Squad unit has earned anonymous support. This time, Hercules Collective Anonymous says it has hacked multiple Nigerian government websites as protests against police brutality in the West African country continue. This, the group says, is in solidarity with EndSARS protesters and some form of retribution for police brutality. The group created a dedicated Twitter for its Nigerian operations on Tuesday, telling the government to expect it. Although Anonymous did not say which websites were hacked, the desktop version of the Nigerian police's website was down at 12:21 a.m. on Thursday. The handle also shared a document that seemed to contain confidential information on police personnel. Meanwhile, the handle has been temporarily restricted on Twitter. Now, joining me now is communications specialist and government reform agitator, Odianosen Musade. Hello, dear.
Morning, Amal.
Hi.
Well, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Now, what do you make of Anonymous's latest involvement in the EndSARS moment, the website hack, and the publishing of police staff names on Twitter?
Well, technically, it is illegal to do such, but we understand how it is right now. Social agitators are looking for all sorts of means to armstrong the government. We've seen that the world over. We've seen Julian Assange, the WikiLeaks, and we've seen the effect they've had on governments. They've sort of brought them to accountable, and that's what this is. So just for clarity, of course, it is illegal. I only saw this today in the social media space, but I would say certainly that it is effective. It is guerrilla tactics. I'm not sitting here encouraging anyone to do so, but I'm not going to discredit the amount of pressure it puts on the government to do the needful so we can get the demands that the people want.
Yeah. Now, for the first time, I would say, the first time we've seen government officials, celebrities, and even activists that have joined this movement. Now, what more would you see now that the youth have found their voice and their calling, should I say? What more do you see the youth calling for an end to?
Well, the list will be endless. There are a lot of problems that have bedeviled us, and we continue to agitate, but never has it been on this scale. And it is uncoordinated in its coordination. There are no leaders, so the usual tactics that the government use by putting the leaders of the protest under pressure or offer them whatever kickbacks so they become lax hasn't been able to occur in this situation. So it is now a general crime, and it is spreading like wildfire. So I know that for certain, the youth and now a lot of adults we've seen are joining to speak up. We've seen important people like Pastor Adeboye, who has one of the biggest churches in the world, come into play. I'm just going to say, from what I have gathered and what I've in my own personal space, what I think needs to be addressed. And so we're uncomfortable with wages of our elected officials. You know, I saw a statistic that showed that the British Prime Minister earns £158,000 annually, while we have our senators earning £668,000. That's about 75% more than what the British Prime Minister earns. And this is a world leader. No disrespect to Nigeria as an African giant, but these things are unsustainable for the so-called poverty capital of the world. And Nigeria still has an over 40% illiteracy rate. And then we see the annual budget in 2020 reducing the budget for education by about 4.1%. And this is supposed to go up. So we have too many illiterates, well, the giant of Africa, so-called giant of Africa. And then, you know, you see recurrent expenditure is still higher than capital expenditure, despite the lapses in, you know, infrastructure in the country, even in healthcare and all that. You know, we have insecurity, we have porous borders, there's arms proliferation. We hear, you know, how these arms trickle in with banditry. and terrorism, which seems to be compensated. These things aren't the things that should be happening in a country where the elected officials rode on the mantra of change. You know, we go back to the criminal justice system, sorry, Amal, and we go back to the criminal justice system, and then we hear very shameful statistics like 65% of Nigeria's inmates have not been convicted of a crime. And a lot of them have been awaiting trial for up to 10 years. These things are things that the strugglers identify with. If you go to healthcare, we have one doctor for 5,000 citizens. We boast of only 40,000 registered doctors or something like that, something appalling of the nature. WHO says we need 260,000 more doctors in the country to meet the gap, to bridge this gap. We have unemployment increasing instead of decreasing. Yes, somebody can quickly say Corona hasn't helped, but this is from 2 years that the last statistics was taken, and then it was progressively reducing. And you can't have this. And guess what? The shameful part is the unemployment and the underemployment increases with your qualification. That means those without qualifications have a better chance of getting a job than those with qualifications. So what is the incentive for even education? So how do you grow this knowledge economy and catch up with the world?
Now, the thing is, I think we have not seen youth fight for a lot in Nigeria. And now we're seeing them fight for this. And I think the last time we saw the youth fight for something was during the fuel subsidy thing. Now, given the fuel subsidy era and now, how do you see this protest ending?
Well, the way I see it, there's two ways this can end. One is, unlike the fuel subsidy, like I said earlier, you now have a protest without recognized leaders. And anybody who tries to identify as a leader of the protest is even being shut down with all avenue and all favor. So there are two ways this can go. A lot of government interaction has to come out. We have a president who everybody seems to complain about his manner of approach in terms of his response to timing. I don't know if it has to do with his PR team, or I don't know if it has to do with himself as a personal nature. I do not know the president on a personal note. And, you know, this is something that he has to improve on. He has to improve on his frequency of communication with the agitators. I see the IG has done a lot of talking over the past 2 days, and I can tell you that has done a really good job, but a lot more has to be done. Second scenario, this is the African Spring, and we are going to see Viva la Revolution type 18th century French Revolution, where the people continue to agitate until there's so much unrest. And I don't know, I do not want to be who preaches doom, but you know what happened in the French Revolution.
Yeah. But thank you so much. Thank you so much, Oji. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure, and it's been so educative. Thank you so much.